Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I am going to call to order the Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 Cedarburg School Board meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Cedarburg School Board and is a public meeting. Prior notices have been placed in the district and additional copies were forwarded to the city and town of Cedarburg, as well as the news graphic and Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Dr. Clark, are you ready for the consent agenda?
All right, with regards to the consent agenda, board members, I ask that you approve the minutes from the regular board meeting on October 22nd, 2025, the budget and finance report, which includes the summary of accounts, check register, check detail, and credit card transaction reports, and the personnel report. Mr. DeRosa, Director of Human Resources, is here to provide an overview of the personnel report.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Clark. This evening we are seeking board approval for Nikki Sellen, special education teacher hire at CHS.
Laura, could we just separate out budget and finance report and vote on A and C? And
sure.
Just do a separate vote for B and A?
I will move that to the end of the meeting then.
Thank you.
Sure. So you wanted which report? Just
A and C.
A and C. Okay. So I will take a motion to include in the consent agenda item B and D.
A and C.
Wait. Okay. So you're just taking.
I would just like to, Dr. Clark, would it be easier if I just made a motion?
Sure, go ahead.
I'll make a motion. Can I make a motion to approve items A and C of the consent agenda with item B to be voted on at the end of the meeting?
I will second.
All right. I have a motion and a second to include items A and C for a vote right now and to move items B and D to the end of the meeting.
And just B, just item B.
Why am I getting, so you're just moving B. You want
Correct.
A, C, and D.
Just A and C.
D we don't vote on. That is the vote.
All right. I am sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Okay. So we are moving items A and C. We're voting on items A and C and moving items B to the end of the meeting. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of approving items A and C?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion to approve items A and C passes 6-0. Thank you, and thank you for your patience.
All right, tonight we have 3 reports for the board. The first report is a presentation by the elementary team covering 3 of their special community connection events. Mr. Brandon Ruff, principal of Thorson Elementary School, will introduce the first team.
All right, thank you. So obviously community ties are huge with our elementary school and with our school district. So we wanted to highlight a lot of our community events that happen in our various schools. So we have Thorson Elementary here. They're going to go through their wellness night. We have Parkview that's going to talk about their STEAM night, and then also a special interest day at Westlawn Elementary. So I will introduce Mrs. Costello and Miss Anderson from Thorson to come up, and we have some friends here with them as well to go through wellness night.
Okay, as Brandon shared, we are very fortunate to be in a community that is very highly involved in all of our elementaries. And I like this quote, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate action of its members." And we have been very fortunate over the years to have lots of community involvement in our schools. So as Brandon shared, these are the 3 presentations that are going to be shared tonight. Michelle Anderson is a co-advisor of Fuel Up to Play 60 with me, and today we have 2 student leaders with us, Joey and Millie. and they're going to share a little bit in just a little as we go. So Family Wellness Night has been around for about 13 years. So we've been doing this for a long time. I would like to just put in a little bit of a plug for Janice Levy, Wendy Peterson, and Paula Evans as being an early parent wellness committee that helped me get it started, and just really kind of got this all rolling. And as the years went on, our Thorson Fuel Up to Play 60 team became even more involved, and we kind of leaned a little bit more into their parents to kind of help us. But we also have been very fortunate to have some Cedarburg High School community service members come back and help us, and we also have former Fuel Up to Play 60 students from middle school that love to come and help us as well. So it's been great. It's a free Friday night evening. I think when you think about the fact that people from the community come on a Friday night to share their time with us, that's huge. And so we've been very grateful for that. And we're going to take just a little bit of time. I do also want to mention one of the other parents that has helped us in recent years is Amy Sturkenberg, and she now has a daughter here up at the high school. Joey's going to share a little bit more about our wellness passport.
When students walk into Thorson at the night of Family Wellness Night, they will receive a wellness passport to go around the school and check different things off. They can go around the school and do physical activity stations. They can visit wellness vendors and talk what their booth is about. They can sample healthy foods and vote for different foods. They can participate in any of those with a family member, and they can earn tickets once they fill out the wellness passport and enter them into the door prizes.
As Patty mentioned earlier, we have a lot of community members come and help on the night of the event, and they not only give up their Friday night, but they often come back year after year to help us, which we really appreciate. So to highlight a couple of those, we have a couple of slides. These are some of the medical and wellness professionals that came, and like Joey said, they have a passport that the kids fill out, and if they listen to an expert talk about their expertise area, then they can have that passport signed. And so last year, just to highlight one of the vendors, we had Newport Court Family Chiropractic come, and they brought a full skeleton to show the kids different parts of your body, and so they could find out more in an interactive way. The next slide shows some volunteers or for physical therapy and massage experts, and they could learn about wellness, recovery, movement. A couple groups are the INSTEP and Aurora Sports Medicine Institute. INSTEP came and showed different shoes that were good for people to wear for different needs that they have, and they also had some muscle strength and balance tests that the kids could try that evening. And the third slide talked about dietitian, nutrition, health and wellness experts, and they focused on healthy habits starting at a young age that they could continue for the rest of their lives. For example, last year Daily Dose came from Cedarburg, and they brought some samples for kids to try, some smoothie samples and parents. And then we also had Airmark, their food service from the district. They often donate healthy foods for our tasty room and for our smoothie bike activities. So all of those community members really help to make the event not only full of activities, but also for the students to talk to, and parents to talk to experts in their field.
So we also have some physical activity professionals who have come. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we are sharing this so you can see the depth of people that have come to share. These people have actually, we break the gym up into certain times, and so they have come in and kids can do soccer. They can try a little bit of fast pitch crush softball, which Millie's involved in. We've had karate, we've had all sorts of things. So this is through the course of 13 years. They don't all necessarily come every year, but this is another, oops, I knew that would happen. Okay, so we had pickleball lab and missing links, and we try to tap into who we know may have kids in our school or at least in our district. And then we also, it's been kind of exciting the last couple of years, the mountain bike club has come. And so our kids can't ride yet, but it's something to look forward to in the middle school. And so those kids that are not necessarily interested in sports, it's a really great way to introduce them to something that they may enjoy doing.
Our Thorson Field to Play Wellness team plays a big role in helping with Family Wellness Night. We help plan and organize the activities that Field to Play 60 students lead. On the night of Family Wellness Night, after school, kids will come and help set up stations and activities for Family Wellness Night. Some activities that the student leaders have helped with is the Ninja Warrior obstacle course, mini golf course, minute to win activities, fitness activities, cardio drumming, Field to Play 60 smoothie bike, healthy snacks and soup, and past year's candlelight snowshoeing.
Finally, at the end of the night, to wrap up all of the activities, when the kids fill out their wellness passport, they can enter their names into door prizes. So these are just a list of some of the door prizes we've had over the years. We've had local restaurants and food vendors, grocery stores and retailers, wellness and community businesses all donate door prizes that the kids can leave with that night as a reward for all of their hard work from the night's activities.
So here are just a few pictures to show you a little bit about what it looks like. To be honest, Michelle and I run around all night long, and I'm lucky that I could even find this many pictures because it's really hard. So there's a lot of vendors. You can see, Michelle's sisters in that picture, or her sister-in-law, I should say. You can see the one that Michelle talked about with the chiropractor from Newport. And obviously, if you know Greg Shea, he's been around in our community for a while. And you can see some former high school students. Mrs. Evans' daughter was there. Michelle Coots is a teacher up at the high school. When her daughter was here, she came. And then this is just one example of our Fuel Up to Play 60 team that helped with our Family Wellness Night, and obviously is part of our big Fuel Up to Play 60 program. So before we're done, I would like Joey and Millie to just share one thing that they really love about Family Wellness Night.
Last year I liked when I got to help out at different stations and help people with the stations. Yep. I like that when kids can come, they can have fun and experience some new things and get some energy out in a fun and experiencing way.
And now we would like to invite you to our upcoming Family Wellness Night, Friday, January 30th, save the date. It goes from 5:30 to 8, but really it's about 5:30 to 7:30, and then we do door prizes afterwards. So we would love to see some of you there. So that's it for our Family Wellness Night.
Well, now it's our turn. So thanks for giving us the opportunity to come and talk to you about what we do and how we engage families and community members to our school. We actually, Ashley and I sit on a committee of just teachers that kind of work at trying to figure out ways to include more community action within our schools. So it's a pretty good group. Today we're going to be talking about a STEAM Day. So kind of a day focused on STEAM and various jobs and things like that.
So the STEAM Day really started and stemmed from two previous teachers that worked for the district or had worked for the district, Sherry Rowan and Don Burgos. Back in 2018, they wanted parents to come in and talk about, it was a math-based day. And they said, ooh, it'd be really cool with STEAM coming up if we could make this really open and open up to all different careers. So then in 2019, Parkview had its first STEAM Day focus that invited parents to come in and really teach about careers that have something to do with the science, technology, engineering, arts, or math. From today on, we've been doing it ever since our 2 years with COVID. Basically the goals for the day are exposing students to the wide variety of jobs and career opportunities that will be available to them in the future. To developing some strong connections between home and school and our community, as well as getting our students to just kind of make connections of everyday professions that they might not always think about.
Okay, so our presenters all follow and we kind of push this design and engineering process that is driven by the Cedarburg School District. They come in with a presentation, sometimes with a hands-on activity, but it's all built around understanding their challenge, brainstorming some solutions to that challenge, building a prototype. Now, obviously, some jobs a little bit different, right? Financial advisor, a little bit different than scientist or somebody, but they find a great way to kind of tie in what we are trying to teach with the engineering process every day within their own jobs.
STEAM Day doesn't involve just our it involves everyone. Our 4K all the way up to second grade focuses mainly on the design and engineering process. So they have a 30-minute block that they are welcome to do like a fall challenge. The teachers work with them. Sometimes they go into the makerspace. And then working and just collaborating through that design and engineering process, the kids are exposed to the theories of our STEAM days. Some different challenges that the 4K through second graders will be working on this year is designing and building Thanksgiving diner tables for our 4Kers. The kindergartner ones are going to be designing marble mazes to help a turkey escape the dinner. First graders will be collecting leaf gliders and see how far they fly. Second graders will be constructing freestanding scarecrows and see if they can withstand a breeze. All focusing on our design and engineering process, making sure that what can we do to further improve it, and then problem solving and working on that collaboration piece.
And we kind of shift into then those kids are like, oh, this is cool, right? We get to build stuff, we get to do things, and now we kind of give them the experience on what they can do out in the real world. This year we have 12 presenters, which kind of gives us about a 1 to 17, 1 to 18 ratio with kids and teachers and things like that. So they're smaller classrooms. The kids get to sit and watch and learn about the jobs. It's all options, so we present them with a Google form, and they get to select which jobs they would like to experience, although it doesn't always work out. We have a bacon manufacturer that's awfully popular, so we can't get everybody into that, but we have some really good people coming, but it builds on what the kids kind of experienced when they were younger, and then it kind of then shifts, like I said, into what they can do when they're adults.
Our present day 3rd through 5th grader, we reach out to our community. We reach out to neighbors. We reach out to parents. We reach out to community members to see if they would love to present. We've had a multitude of different careers. We try and make it known that everyone really has something to do with STEAM. Kind of thinking about, you might involve a computer. Well, that's technology-based. So really encouraging our community to come and be present within our school system and with seeing students kind of interact with them as well. All of our presenters have kind of a template that they kind of stick with in introducing themselves, thinking about their career, and then extending on what STEAM-based program that they have. And then most of them have a hands-on component to get the kids moving so that it's not just all sit and get, that they can have some hands-on experience with that presenter and that career. Some of the student outreach, I did the math, and it took me a little while looking back to it. But since this program has started, we have had 1,533 students approximately have been put through the STEAM Day. So it's a pretty significant outreach with our students, and something that a lot of them look forward to every single year.
And just real quick, I mean, our presenters are great. We've had Harley engineers, and she didn't happen to come in this year, but it's always great to see women in STEAM, and the presentations are fantastic. The kids are engaged the entire time. You can see it up on our board. And in that instance, the kids were building I believe they were building a mini motor from Harley. And the kids got to keep some of the stuff, which was kind of cool too. So lots of great things happening.
Here are some of the different presenters. Sorry, this is your slide.
No, that's all right. This is just an example of some of the people some of the jobs that we've had come in. I won't go through all of them. You can obviously see we get new ones every year. So it's not like the kids are seeing the same presentation over and over. We get parents that want to come in and just help. From Dad's Club, PTO, and just everybody, and just family members. So it's been a great turnout.
Like the previous presenter said, we're kind of tucked in with our presenters, so trying to find pictures can prove a little difficult, but this year we will make an effort to do that. But here are just some pictures of throughout the years. You can see a lot of the kids get involved with it and those hands-on components, and a lot of them come out saying, oh, I never knew about this career, which is really fantastic to see. We've had anyone from she was a pediatrician who showed how to veins and how they go all throughout the body, and so it was like hands-on with that. There was different light sources. We had a toy company come in and understand, well, we have to choose different glasses because different people can see different things. You can see our chemist there who's doing a little experiment. So lots of different things that kids are exposed to with real equipment that they use on an everyday basis. So we're really proud of this day. Our STEAM Day is actually kicking off tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you have time, you are more than welcome to come. So Steve and I were just sorting out the kids so that they are going to be involved with this and be able to participate this year. So we really enjoy running this day. So, all right.
Thanks for having me.
Westlawn.
All right, good evening, everyone. I've never used a clicker, so wish me luck. My name is Sasha Miller, and I'm the art teacher at Westlawn Elementary, and I also travel to Thorson and Parkview as well. And this is
Sharon Spade, first grade at Westlawn.
So a little backstory to Special Interest Day. My first year in the Cedarburg School District was 2011, and I think we had a Special Interest Day 2011 or 2012. And I think it was only 1 year that I had been at Westlawn that we did that, and then it went away. And I think it was probably because it was PTO run, and the PTO changes every couple of years. So since our current principal, Katie Ramos, has been at Westlawn, I have been bugging her every year. Special Interest Day, hey, we should bring that back. It was amazing, I remembered, it was so good. And so I think she really got tired of me nagging at her, and then I got Sharon on board and some other teachers, and we brought it back last year, and it was an enormous success, so I can't wait to show you what it looked like. All right, I'm thinking I pressed the arrow. Sweet, it worked, okay. So what is Special Interest Day? It's basically an entire day of enriching students with a wide variety of hobbies and interests. A little bit different than Career Day. It doesn't necessarily have to be a career. It can just be a simple hobby that can be really enriching for students, adults, anyone. And it's really set apart because it's different than just a typical school day. It affects all the Westlawn students, and not 4K, I should say that because it's half day. So logistically, I think we'll look into involving them in the future, but that didn't happen this last year. All staff were involved, and we had over 30 parents and community members. Where it took place was in Westlawn, outside of Westlawn. It's in May, so ideally the weather worked out okay, and so we were able to take advantage of being indoors and outdoors. We had color-coded schedules posted outside of each room that coordinated with student name tags for organization, so that they were able to flow freely and not be freaked out about where they were going from room to room.
And the why. So it was to expose students to a wide variety of interests, things that they may have never been experienced or seen before, and hopefully opening up new hobbies for them, or even ideas for a career, even though, they're still young. But the how, well, from Mrs. Miller trying to get us to get it back going. And then we had a strong committee that worked and met numerous times. We had a supportive principal, our wonderful PTO. We had numerous parents volunteering, and our staff was all on board with it. The students then, before that, we ended up sending a survey out to the parents, the community, seeing if we could get some interest. We got all those back. We dug through them to see what sessions, what career, interests. Then we made a menu for the students. The students had an opportunity to choose 6 sessions that they were interested and would hope that they could get to. We worked through that and were able to give them 4 choices. We had 4 sessions trying to get them the 6 that, out of the 6 they liked. After the whole day was over, we went back and sent another survey to our presenters to get some feedback to help us to, tweak it for the following years.
All right, so this is what our opening assembly looked like. This is the screen that the students saw when they walked in. Are you ready to have a super special day? And then we had up on the screen for them all of the presenters and then the sessions they would be leading. I thought that was important for the students because they were only going to 4 sessions. And then I had a vision to have all of the volunteers lined up in front of the gym, and that's exactly what we were able to do. So you can see a picture there of all of the volunteers lined up. They just briefly introduced themselves, and they also shared what their special interest was, and it actually tied in beautifully to our school theme last year, which was all about value, us having value, us being able to add value, things like that. And so the presenters, I had asked for them to just share with the students how their special interests brought them value or brought value to other people in their life. And it was just so cool and inspiring for the kids to hear such a wide variety of different hobbies they could potentially get into and just how that was a blessing for them and for others. I think that's all on that side.
So then this was the schedule we followed. We had an opening assembly. We had 2 sessions that students attended. We had the lunch break. We had 2 following the lunch, and then a closing assembly. Students, like we said before, had color-coded name tags. They listed the 4 sessions, the room that they were to go to. And then one thing that I was going to mention with the list of all of the participants, they ranged from parents we have now to community members, from business owners. We have retirees that came back. We have grandmas that came back. We've had our custodian was a part of it. So the police officer, the firefighter, we tried to get as much as we could get in.
Okay. So we're just going to briefly kind of flip through these slides here so you can see a variety. So we have acting in TV and film. I voluntold my husband, who works for the Brewers part-time, doing x-ray for them, and he loves the Brewers. So I asked him to do Brewers bingo along with our crossing guard, who is a giant Brewers fanatic too. So they led Brewers bingo, and they did sports trivia with the older kids later in the afternoon. We did friendship bracelets, artist trading cards. I actually had a part-time student teacher last year that introduced me to artist trading cards. So I gave her the opportunity to teach that day, and it was a great experience for her and the kids. I'm actually incorporating artist trading cards into my teaching this year. They're really, really fun. They're kind of like Pokemon cards, but with artists. Better. Anyways, Brazilian, whatever, however you say that. I don't know. I don't even know how to say. Yeah, sure that. Okay.
All right, next. So a couple other nice things. We had Home Depot. They volunteered and donated a bunch of planters, so kids were able to work in the Makerspace building. That you can see also we had a previous mom, now grandma. She is an artist. She did calligraphy with the kids and also did pottery painting. We had the police officers come. They were very kind. They also handed out hardcover storybooks to all the students that attended their sessions, and the firefighters let the students, get onto the fire truck and showed them all the equipment.
Pottery painting with Taekwondo. We had cookie decorating. That was a former Westlawn teacher that came out of retirement to teach her new hobby, cookie decorating. Clay creations with one of our 3rd grade teachers. I think that one, so the bottom right is I'm not sure the pictures aren't fully loading, sorry about that. But that's actually our head custodian at Westlawn, who is totally into collecting trading cards. Not the artist trading cards, but other ones. So he really, drew the attention of especially like our older boys. So that was really great. Cheerleading and poms. Mrs. Spade helped lead that not one.
We had a father who taught students how to play the guitar, brought a lot of guitars in. We had a great aunt who was teaching origami in her paper folding. I'm not sure what happened to the pictures, but we had Happy Place Kitchens. They came and they did some cooking with kids. And the farm one up there, you can't see the cute little chicks, but we had hatched those chicks in my classroom, and then our daily sub, she does a lot of work on a farm, so she used those in her presentation with the students. So lots of wide variety of things. We got a few.
Oh, I'm bummed these pictures aren't coming through. I actually was a photographer that day. They're really good pictures. Okay. Lacrosse, I think he's actually a coach at the high school. Juggling, Mrs. Ramos volunteered her husband to come in and be a juggling coach and teacher. Hairstyling, German and Spanish, making gnome homes. So that got the kids outdoor, which was really fun.
These were. We had bookmaking, so kids that were interested in being an author and writing books. We had some sports activities like football. We had dance fitness instructors come in. We had Daily Dose. They came and did some work making protein balls with the students and some fingernail art.
All right, and then we concluded the day by bringing all the kids and staff back together in the gym. So this is what our closing assembly looked like. When they entered, we just asked the kids, how was your day? What did you learn? What was your favorite part? Did you discover a new interest? What did you value most about today? And we actually took some time to interview the kids and get their feedback, which was fun.
So to start off the ending assembly, we had a slideshow going with just snapshots of the day. We did have students speak out about highlights. We kind of got volunteered to have our cheerleading little pom group perform the routine that we taught the 4 sessions. So all the little kids came up. We got up in front with the little poms you can see there in the picture. We had former West Lawn Dolphins, now CHS students, well, now they graduated, but last year. They were interviewed about how their interests have changed them and what they have, where their interests have taken them as far as going to college or maybe clubs they joined in high school. And then our last surprise.
Yeah, I don't know what to click here to play the video. Oh yeah, that would be great. So this was the special surprise at the end of the day. Not sure if the noise will work on this at all. Maybe, maybe not. Well, you can probably picture that it's the drum line from the Cedarburg High School. So that really pumped the kids up. The whole idea of that was just to bring a lot of energy and excitement to close the day out. If you have seen the drum line, they're just, it just makes you want to jump out of your seat and just dance along with them, and we invited the kids to do that. But it was just a great visual for the kids of this is just one specific interest, but look at what you can do in the future. All right, and that's pretty much it. That was the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we taking questions? I wasn't sure about that. No?
Can't even imagine the hours and the extra time. And, thank you for acknowledging we do live in a great community that really give us a lot. But you guys, wow. And what struck me with Parkview and Thorson is, you've kept these days going that have been established originally by someone else, but you've kept them going, which is hard to do. But then kudos to West Lawn to bring back this awesome day. So I just want to say thank you.
I'll say thank you to Millie and Joey. Thank you for speaking. It's not easy to do, and you did a great job. And thank you for the little notepad. Usually I take a lot of notes, but I don't have a ton today, but I will use it happily when I can. I was just curious, is this on? It doesn't seem like it is. I don't know if this is on or not. I'll talk a little louder. I was just curious for first, the pictures do show up on our end, so anybody that wants to open up the meeting and board docs, those do show up all the way. And they are great pictures. Everybody took great pictures or gathered pictures. I kind of recognized some of the students from Parkview, so I think
I think James was in one of them from a while ago. And I've never heard of that bacon manufacturer, so so I think it's really cool, even if you think you know about something, if you're a past parent, it's really helpful to hear. It's helpful for me to learn new things, even if I think I know what the time was about or is about. And I don't know that I knew about the wellness, the whole event. So I really appreciate you giving the date so that I can add it to my phone after this meeting is done. Thank you.
I think they're all fantastic. I want to come to all of them. There is no better way to learn about hobbies than from people who will enthusiastically info dump about all of the greatness to people who want to hear. So that is amazing. I love it. Making stuff, listening to presenters, and bacon, I'm in. I'm totally in. I would be in the bacon room all day. And for the wellness day, I had to cringe a little bit when I heard about balance tests, and I apologize for the sunglasses, but I have vertigo right now. So if I were to do a balance test, I'd probably fall over, and you'd get a good laugh. But I'm going to try and get that sorted for January 30th so I can come and see if I can actually do it. And you guys did a great job presenting. You should be very proud of yourselves.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We will not be offended if you leave. Our next presentation is by Mr. John Hannum, Cedarburg High School Athletic Director, and he will share the CHS Fall Sports Recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. That's a tough act to follow. Some outstanding stuff. I'm excited to share the outstanding accomplishments from this past fall sports season. Before we get into that, just have a few data points that I wanted to share. So we're now collecting our team GPAs, and if you take a look at these, I mean, they kind of speak for themselves here. I mean, we have two teams for their varsity teams that are averaging over a 4.0. 7 out of 9 are above a 3.5, which is the criteria for a scholar athlete. So it's just incredible. I mean, that's why these walls are here. So, you know, that's why you always hear me reference the student athletes, and, you know, we're definitely getting it done in the classroom, and that's where it starts and ends here. So I wanted to share that with you, okay? Next, we also survey our students through the midpoint way of the season and then at the end. And we want to make sure they're having a positive experience, and this is a very important question here. We want to make sure that they feel that their coaches care about them. And you see that we have some positive marks here. I think we can do even better here, but wanted to share this with you because, you know, this is very important to us that, you know, we have a positive culture and that the students, you know, winning's important. You know, you hear about that a lot. We celebrate the outcomes, but most importantly, we want to have a positive experience for all of our student athletes here. So into our celebrations here, if you take a look, you know, starting off with football, we have Robert Pascula as all-region. Ryan Lemke was second team. Robert, again, was first team and honorable mention. And then Aiden was honorable mention. And then going into girls volleyball, for first team, we had Peyton, Lucy, and Kaylin. And then for second team, we had Hannah Heitzke. And then for honorable mention, we had Stella, Therese, and Maddie. And then Coach Becker, who I believe she just completed her 6th season with us, celebrated her 100th career win. And then call this the Peyton Wallman slide. She is just an outstanding player and even better individual. You see all the celebrations we have for her, and I kind of gave a little jab to her because she broke my sister's last record on the volleyball board here. So, but she's a great kid and still has another year to play and is doing great things for us. And then Lauren Freehay, again, another great individual athlete here, plays 6 at state, won conference, and has had a great career with us in diving. And then for boys soccer, we have Liam Violetto, second team, and then Joseph Schmidt, I'm sorry about that, was honorable mention. And then for girls golf, We have Lindsay Craning, who was first team. She's an incredible talent. And then Olivia Luft, who was second team. And then Addison was honorable mention and had a very successful season for girls cross country. And then moving on to girls tennis. So we had Caitlin Dunn, who was first team, and then Mia and Molly, they were second team. They also qualified for state. And then for third team, we had Mary and Kylie. And then boys volleyball just had an outstanding season. They were undefeated conference champions and had just a heartbreaker of a loss in the sectional final. They lost in 5 sets, and just had, I mean, our program's done a great job. Coach Damian Evans, he does a great job with the program, great culture, and these guys do a great job on and off the court. And we have a bunch of records here, you know. So you take a look here for Mason Eichberg, Ben Klumpian, Augie Shuley, and Jordan Pirro. When you have this amount of success, you're going to have a lot of records broken. And then for, you know, some individual accolades here, Jordan Pirro was Conference Player of the Year. And then for first team was Augie and Ben. And then second team was Ian Wilson, and honorable mention was Mason Eichberg. So that rounds out our accolades for the fall sports season. So any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Next we have Ms. Allie Rudich, Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, and she will share an overview of the most recent Wisconsin school report cards.
Good evening, everybody. Exciting report to, again, highlight some of our successes as a district. So just going through our most recent school report card releases. So just a couple of reminders when we are talking about school and district state report cards. From a background standpoint, our assessment reporting cycle. So we actually get October is important on here, but we also get our state results back from many of our spring assessments in June now. So that has moved up over the last couple of years as a result of some of the efficiencies in scoring assessments. So we begin to start getting those results in June, and then our preliminary report cards are released to us in October. That gives us a time to review them internally, just make sure that everything is accurate. And then the final release of the state report cards takes place in November. This was released last Tuesday, I believe, November 11th. And then that helps us to kind of see and monitor how we did over the course of the year in various areas. And then from an assessment cycle, we bring our assessment plan for the next school year back to the board for approval in May. So that's when we outline when all of our assessment windows will take place for the district. Our actual state report cards are required by the state, and they're just an overview of the accountability for each of our buildings and our districts. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about some of those pieces. We're going to break down what the different parts of the report cards are and highlight our successes in the 24 and 25 state report cards. So from an accountability standpoint, the purpose of these report cards are just really to evaluate the effectiveness of our schools. We do want our schools and our districts to be held accountable for educating and preparing all of our students. Our school report cards do satisfy state and federal reporting requirements. They help us to identify and strengthen and build upon areas that we need to deepen, and then also pinpoint areas that we might need improvement. So those are areas that are, regardless of the work that we do, that's how we, that's what we do to build our program. We want to know where we are strong. We want to know what we need to do to build upon so that we can be setting goals. And then this is one measure. There's always multiple measures, but this is one measure for us to see if we are meeting those goals. Historically, these report cards have been in place since 2011-12 school year. It's part of the continuous improvement process. And one thing to keep in mind, especially once I start putting up the longer history of school report cards. There have been some renorming that has ended up taking place at the state level over the years. So if you're considering that they started out in 2011, 12, some things have changed since then, so there has been some renorming pieces. So there's times where you do need to take some caution when comparing from year to year because of those renorming places. A couple of updates for you. Those of you that were here last year, remember that the assessment cut scores for the forward assessments were updated during the summer a year ago, so a year from this past summer. Those have remained consistent for this year, so when you're looking at the comparison results from this year to last year, those are the 2 years that we should be comparing because we are comparing apples to apples because the cut scores are the same. This current report card does reflect those 2 years worth of consistent data, and those scoring levels, students can be rated on their forward exam with advanced, meeting, approaching, and developing. So those levels, names, titles, or name changes took place a little over a year ago. One of the things we have talked about several different times throughout my presentations, we do want to make sure that we're comparing student percentiles to student percentiles because it does allow us to monitor if students are learning and growing. And so you'll see some of those pieces, and even though there has been some renorming that has taken place over the state over the last couple of years, that percentile is still accurate for the student. So we can monitor that growth, and it doesn't depend on where they are from a level standpoint. So if those levels have changed because of where those cut scores were, if we're still talking the 70th percentile, we're talking the 70th percentile in comparable years. When you are breaking down these report cards, if you took a peek at the report cards, there's a lot of information in them. Several different pages. You'll also notice that report cards are not just about achievement. So while the assessments that we do take are an important part of the report card, it's certainly not the only thing that is a part of the report card and a part of the measure that goes into giving that overall score. So you're going to see demographic information of how either the school that you are looking at or the district breaks down. You'll also see that there are scores in areas of titles under achievement, growth, target group outcomes, and the on track to graduation. There's 4 little tiny circles on the bottom of every report card because those are the 4 core areas that go into a calculation to give you the overall score. We also have some priority area score details, and then towards the end of the long report of the school report card, there is course and program data that doesn't necessarily go into your overall score, but it gives a report out, if you will, on how students are doing and what kinds of things they might be taking across the district. Something new this year is we are reporting out, or the state has requested with Act 20 to make sure that we are reporting out how many students in 3rd grade are on track for reading. So that is something that is reported on the school report card also because of Act 20. So let's jump in. Here is a breakdown of all of our school report cards for the district. So you will see one for each school. Yes?
Can I interrupt you real quick? Would you mind just going back to the previous slide?
Yes, I really can't tell if this is on or not. So now it is? Okay. So the asterisk next to target group outcomes, are you speaking more about that a bit later? Perfect.
Yep, I'm going to jump into target group outcomes. I'll share a little bit more about what each of these 4 circles are as we are talking a little bit further.
Thank you.
The 2 links that you have at the bottom of this particular slide, you should have in your packets a report card at a glance, which also breaks down each of these key areas on the report card and just some of the resources that DPI puts out that goes along with the different report cards. From a this year standpoint, this is the overall top score that is in the top left part of each school report card. So this is the actual score that those 4 little scores make up. You will see one for each of our schools and then our overall district. And we are excited to say that again, we have all schools and our district are in the top category of significantly exceeds expectations. Here's the slide that I talked about that there is a little bit of caution in here. One of the things to make note of, so since 15-16, you're seeing the historical trend of the school report cards. Obviously in 1920, that was COVID year, there was not a school report card during that year. But you can just kind of see a little bit of the patterns or the trends in where some of these school report cards have been. I did put the 24-25 up there in a giant pink because so last summer, a year ago summer, there was renorming that surrounded the state assessments and where those cut scores were. This year, as a result of renorming the state assessments, there was some renorming to the report card scoring system. It ended up where some of those cutoffs for the different levels of significantly exceeding or exceeds expectations, some of those numbers did move as a result of the renorming. So one of the areas of caution is it's a little bit different this year from a school report card overall standpoint just because of those renorming standards. So that's why I put it in pink for you. We continue to stay in the significantly exceeding expectations. We would have been in the significantly exceeding expectations in the prior scores too. So for us, that wasn't necessarily something that impacted us from a cut score standpoint. So from a district-wide standpoint, our district, you will see our top portion of our school report card here. The overall score for the entire district is a 95.4. They also have a up to 5-star rating in there that goes along with the rating. So we did receive all 5 of those scores. Those stars, not those scores. And then, as I affectionately like to call it, you're going to see on every school report card, these are, to me, remind me of Trivial Pursuit pieces, which goes along with how they calculate your score. So those 4 key areas of achievement, growth, target group outcomes, and on track to graduation, all of those have different weightings, if you will, that end up making up your overall score. So that achievement place is how our students do academically on the state assessments. Growth is how much growth our students make from year to year on those assessments. Target group outcomes, the target group is our bottom 25% of students. If you've heard my other data presentations, I'm just going to make a note. Bottom 25% does not necessarily mean below the 25th percentile. This is our entire district, wherever our kids are, they take that bottom quartile. So in our cases, we have students that are sitting in the 60th percentile and are falling into the bottom 25% of our district. We do monitor, and the state monitors, the growth and the achievement and the attendance of that particular group, just to make sure that we're continuing to move that bottom 25% of students as much as we would be any other student. And then that final piece is that on track to graduation, which includes attendance, graduation rates, and that is part of where that particular piece ends up coming in. So when we put all of these areas together, this is our district one. You're going to notice from those priority score areas, so you see our achievement score up there to the left. You're going to see 2 bars there. That top darker band bar and a little bit bigger bar is our school district. The smaller, thinner, grayish bar is the state. So if you are looking, this gives you a comparison between our district and where the state was. It breaks down achievement between English and language arts or reading and math so that you can see where our achievement ratings were. In that growth area over to the right, you'll notice that it's also broken out by English and language arts and mathematics. So this is, again, monitoring how much our students are growing from one year to another. When you drop down into the target group outcomes, that's where there are some additional areas that we are monitoring on those students. So you'll see for that target group outcome with the students that are both in the bottom 25% of our district, we are monitoring not only their achievement, but how fast they're growing, their absenteeism, and if they're graduating or not. So that is something that goes into that overall score for the target group outcomes. And then that final one is the on track to graduation. So you'll see in there absenteeism, graduation, that 3rd grade language arts score, and then our 8th grade math score. So again, you're going to see where the district is, and then you'll see what that looks like in comparison to the state. I'm taking time to go through the district one just a little bit more in depth so that people have the understanding before I start flipping through schools. So you'll see this for every single school report card that we go through tonight. You'll see that some of these scores might change. All of the items that you're seeing on the screen are consistent with all schools. And this is what it looks like from the entire state. This is what we're measuring against. So when we're looking at our particular district report card, some of the things that we are continuing to be proud of is all of our schools are significantly exceeding expectations for the 5th year in a row. That's outstanding. We are excited that we are the number 2 district with similar districts. That's also important to make note because sometimes there are districts that are broken down into 9-12 districts or K through 8 districts. We are from a K through 12 area. We are the number 2 district in Wisconsin.
So that's, excuse me, that's number 2 for overall accountability.
So our overall report card score is the number 2 of K through 12 districts in the state. And then we are very proud of our continued growth in our target group. So we are watching what is taking place in there. We've had conversations not only about growth over the past years, but making sure that we have kids coming to school and wanting to make sure that our students are continuing to grow at all levels. As we continue to look forward, we want to continue that. We will have a continued focus on growing all students at all levels, regardless of where they are. And it's also something that is near and dear to my heart. We implemented new curriculars in elementary and middle school last year and continuing to monitor that implementation to make sure that we are seeing positive results. We did. I was very pleasantly surprised and excited with what we ended up seeing as a result. I'll be curious to see how that continues moving forward.
Allie, could you just say that last sentence one more time for me? I think I caught it, but not.
So monitoring our new areas of curricular implementation, so Amplify and HMH, and making sure that we're seeing positive results on our students and their academic success.
Would it be possible to just add the word curricular to this slide? Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. So just from a historical standpoint, this also breaks down those 4 different areas in a little bit different way so that you can see what things have looked like since the year 2021 until now. I'm going to go through just a touch faster for each of the schools. Here we have Parkview's. Parkview was the number 5 elementary school in the state out of 597. So again, that is comparable elementary schools with the same amount of grade levels that we have. Their overall score was a 96.3. Here are their 4 areas. And so when you're looking in those priority areas, I also like to affectionately say that the circles look like the Apple Watch closing the circles. And so when you're looking at Parkview's achievement and you see that that is almost closed, that can be kind of exciting too. So interesting visuals to be able to associate all of these pieces with. Their points of pride, their score of a 99.8 in the achievement priority area. their target group outcomes score of a 95.2, which is a 5.5 increase from last year. The continued growth in student attendance measurements, because that is something that is very important for us. And their areas of focus continuing moving forward is the growth of all students within ELL and the ELA, and then making sure the growth and achievement of their target group continues to take place at high levels. Here is Parkview's historical growth. Next up we have Thorson. Thorson is the #1 elementary school in the state, an overall score of a 93.9. We're looking at their particular priority areas. Here's how they measured their points of pride for this particular report card. Their overall score increased by 2.8 points. Their target group increased by over 6 points. And all priority areas increased by a point or more. So that means all 4 of those particular areas did go up over the past year. As far as an area of focus for them, continuing to grow the target group of students, particularly in the area of math, and then growing their students who are already high achieving. So those students that are at the top end, making sure that they're continuing to make growth so that they are accounting for growth also. A historical overview for Thorson. West Lawn is the #15 elementary school in the state with an overall score of 93.5. Here you will see their 4 priority area scores. So some things to note, their achievement score is the highest it's ever been. There's strong growth and achievement among our special education and economically disadvantaged students. And the rate of growth among students new to Cedarburg is significant. West Lawn has seen a good amount of students that are new to the district, and that is definitely something that we are monitoring and making sure that they are growing appropriately. Areas of focus are the math scores and growth, particularly of that target group of students. A historical view. On to Webster Middle School. Webster is the #1 6-8 middle school in the state out of 260. This is a return to #1, correct? With an overall score of 97.6. So again, as you are looking at the Apple Watch circles, you'll notice we have a full 100 there. We completed the circle at Webster this year and in the target group, which also has a variety of different pieces that goes into that score. So areas to note, achievement in both ELA and math were exceptional. Students were scoring in the advanced categories of achievement and continue to grow in ELA and math. And the target group outcomes of achieving 100 is definitely something to celebrate. Areas of focus, student growth across all range of learners in ELA and math, and the continued effort in helping the subgroups grow in ELA and math. So some of those student populations, we want to make sure that they are growing. You're going to hear the continued themes of we want our kids growing. We want them growing at all levels. A historical view. And then ending with our high school, the #6 high school in the state, again, 9 through 12 grades for high school, so that's #6 out of 382 with an overall score of 89.9. Here's their progress and priority levels. Their areas of note as the highest report card score ever. ELA achievement and growth were strong through the curriculum pilot. So when we were talking about making sure that we're monitoring things, remember last year for ELA and 9 through 11, we were in a pilot part of the year. So that growth was continued to be strong despite that pilot. And areas of focus is making sure that there is intentional instruction and assessment in advanced mathematical reasoning, data analysis and interpretation, reading comprehension, standards English convention, and then coherent and evidence-based writing. So those are areas that the high school is definitely digging into and making sure that they are monitoring closely. The last historical view for the high school. And finally, as we talk about our work and our next steps, first of all, I do want to say that it's always important to pause and celebrate because there are so many amazing things that are going right and are going well. And it's sometimes, as educators, we have a hard time pausing to celebrate our success because we're jumping to the next thing to make it better. So there are many, many areas where a lot of really good things are happening, and Dr. Clark and I have talked with all different buildings about making sure that we're pausing to celebrate those good things and the hard work of the many people that are in our organization to do what they need to do for kids. That being said, as we continue to work and do our next steps, we need to make sure that we're continuing to focus our work in our PLCs. Those are starting to show that that collaboration is definitely important. We want to make sure that we're setting goals all the way down to the individual student level and making sure students are understanding how to set goals and achieve goals. Implementing and refining those high leverage instructional practices. We've talked a lot about key practices that need to be a part of our instruction diet in the classroom, and making sure that the times that we have built in, like flex time and intervention time, also have those high leverage practices in there for our students. Continuing to focus for accelerated growth with our students that are in our state identified target group, providing intentional, timely, and appropriate intervention, extension, and remediation. So making sure that all of those pieces are in place regardless of what every student needs to be able to deliver that is something that is a continued and focused conversation. And continued work on improving student attendance and decreasing chronic absenteeism. So that is something that we are constantly monitoring, and if you followed along, that has been something that a lot of school districts have seen challenges with over the past couple of years. We definitely saw some successes last year and wanting to make sure that we are gaining on those successes. That concludes my portion. Questions?
So one thing I don't even know if my microphone's working. One thing I wanted to bring up was definitely the area of focus for the high school, because reading that as a professor, it says critical thinking and literacy is not where it should be. And it's understandable given the programs we had been using, mathematics, but hopefully with Amplify and HMH, by the time our 5th and 6th graders start becoming freshmen and sophomore and have more of that literacy and critical thinking rigor behind them, that these areas of focus will hopefully naturally shrink on their own. Because with high school, I struggle to teach my college students these things when they haven't had them from little on up, so now it's kind of, let's try to give them what we can before they're out the door. But I hope too as well, that we're not just focusing on math, but really that critical thinking, which, you can put into math and sciences as well, but bringing up those literacy scores so that they are going to have a better shot if they go on past high school.
If I can add on to that, Kate, I agree, and I think I was glad to see that, especially at the high school level, continued to look at writing as well, because I love the scores we're seeing, but I think I appreciate you highlighting what we're going to continue to work on, because there is always room for improvement, and that's something I think a lot of people are aware of, that we need to get back to more of the writing. And then I just wanted to say thank you for explaining the percentiles as well, so that we really know what we're looking at and can move beyond what the state is doing for whatever reason, and really see what we're doing as a district.
And remember, this is one measure, right? So we look at all these multiple measures across the year. This is one measure of our accountability too.
Oh, and shout out to Dan, 2 years in a row. Number one.
Thought this was a return.
Two-thirds. Hey, I take it.
I just had kind of a quick request, because I know we're coming up on that public comment time here. I would like to see somewhere added in the presentation an easier to access definition of that target group. What you said verbally makes sense, and I would just like it print available for anyone who can't be here, who accesses it later, because it is so different district to district, and I would really like parents and students to understand that being part of the target group in Cedarburg is not it's not bad. It's that's not what it is, but you explained it really well verbally, and I was just I'd like to see it somewhere in this presentation added, if it's at all possible. And then I'll just take a moment to pause and say great job, everybody. So thanks, Allie. I'd just like to I really appreciate, the presentation and talking about all students, because a lot of time we talk about high achievers or we talk about students who are struggling, but this really is focusing on each and every one of our students. And it's not just achievement, the growth piece, because they all need to grow. And I just, it's, as you said, it's great to stop and celebrate, and we deserve, to do that. But yeah, we have a whole new school year, new kids, and
new things to learn.
Yep, and let's always improve. So thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. All right, we are going to move into our public comment portion of the meeting, and we did have one person sign up. So, let me grab her name. Is she here? Hi, come on in. Or come on up to the mic. I have a little paragraph I have to read. So, any district staff member, district resident, parent of a district student, or student enrolled in the district may comment during the public comment portion of a meeting per Board Policy 0167.3. For this meeting, the community may address the board during the public comment section of the meeting regarding topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. Individuals making public comments are reminded that they are not immune from legal consequences related to their speech. This includes, but is not limited to, liability for speech that is contrary to the privacy, reputational, or due process rights of others, such as defamation or making false claims. Please make your comments to the board and not to any individuals in the audience. As this is a public meeting, it is expected that everyone in attendance will conduct themselves in a respectful and courteous manner that models appropriate behavior for our students. Speech or conduct that is threatening or disruptive is prohibited. In accordance with School Board Policy 0167.3, comments by an individual speaker shall not exceed 3 minutes in duration. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. Please state the topic upon which you will be commenting. And if you are under the age of 18 or are a student in Cedarburg schools, please only state your first name. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the district's website. So thank you for coming.
You guys have a lot of things that people have said, apparently. I don't have any of that planned. My name is Catherine Phillips, and we live at W64N438 Madison Avenue. We're actually new to the district, and there's no pressure because my son's principal's right there. I just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to the school board. I know that you guys are part of the creation of the Creative Connections classroom here in Cedarburg at Thorson Elementary. I'm a proud mother of one of the children in the pilot class, and I'm going to try not to cry because I've been doing a lot of happy crying lately, which is a huge change. But while he's only been in attendance for 6 weeks, I can tell you the impact that this classroom has had on my child is immeasurable. My son did not start out in your district. He attended K3 through K5 in a really large school district, and he's always been labeled as the bad kid, the class disruptor, the problem child. And it was a label that he took personally. And it was his whole personality, basically, for a while. He really struggles with the interpersonal relationships and making sense of and being in control of his emotions. So being in a large classroom setting was really hard for him. And when I say that this program has been a lifesaver for my son, I'm not exaggerating. My son, for the first time in his life, is thriving in school and loves being there. In fact, I can't talk enough about the good skills that my son has learned from the life lessons, and I'm starting to tear up, and I even wrote that here. I'm eternally grateful that you guys voted to create this program. As an educator myself, I know how expensive a program like this is, and I can't say enough good things about the women who run the classroom. There's not a day that goes by that my son does not talk lovingly about his teachers, and I can tell you, right now, my son is in first grade. He will be talking about Claire Strupp and Sydney Stabb for the rest of his life as the first educators who actually saw him. And as I mentioned, I'm not just a mom. I'm also an educator. I was a public school teacher in a larger district for 15 years. I still work there, and I'm still there, but I'm a librarian now. I've kind of shifted my focus. But when I say, as an educator who saw year after year children like my own son who would have benefited from a program like this, I need you to understand how groundbreaking this classroom is for these students. And I wish that all children who struggle like my son does have access to a program like this. And I just wanted to speak to you guys because I wanted to make sure that generations of children from Cedarburg have access to a program like this. So I just wanted to say a heartfelt and tear-filled thank you for creating a program like this for children like my child. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Clark, do you want to?
I think there's one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay. My name is Gina Tozer. My address is N118W7362, Fairway Lane here in Cedarburg. And I would like to talk about the CHS English long reads. Tonight, I'd like to talk about specifically the discussion that occurred at the November 12th Curriculum Committee meeting, particularly the English Department's proposed long reads and what the board deems appropriate reading material for our high school students. The debate was prompted by the consideration of Julia Alvarez's compelling novel In the Time of the Butterflies and its brief comparison to board-approved alternative text, Lord of the Flies. The core of my argument is this: both novels employ challenging content to explore complex, universal themes. If we support the educational value of one, we must acknowledge the equal or greater value of the other, especially in providing vital, diverse perspectives our students need. Lord of the Flies is a staple, valued for its critique of civilization's thin veneer and the collapse of order. It's a brutal book containing graphic descriptions of 2 murders and a torturous pig hunt. We accept this violence because it serves as a pedagogical purpose to teach the importance of rules and the fragility of human nature. In the Time of the Butterflies utilizes similarly challenging content to illustrate the historical realities of the life under the brutal Trujillo dictatorship in the Dominican Republic. The themes in Alvarez's novel are profound and necessary. For those who have not read the book, it at times contains sexual themes. One passage discusses marital sex between 2 consenting individuals. The other passages are related to themes of political oppression and resistance. This content is not pornographic. It is a critical historical tool. It depicts the specific ways women are victimized and oppressed under a systematic abuse of power. The fact it was removed from the English department's list of long reads due to its present but not persistent sexual content misses the point of the novel entirely. It is vital we distinguish between content that is sexually explicit for a narrative purpose and content that is pornographic. At the November 12th meeting, a board member passionately said, quote, "This is a public school district. I think we do have some responsibility to make sure what we're putting forward is not sexually explicit," end quote. The same member pressed further by asking, quote, "What are we not teaching our students by choosing a read that is not sexually explicit," end quote. Quite frankly, pornography is designed for sexual arousal. The content in this novel, however, is designed to shock our conscience and educate our students on the realities of political brutality and human rights abuses. As the acting school board for a public school, it is absolutely your duty to support our students and teachers by holding space for these difficult topics and conversations in the classroom. Exposing students to these realities through literature presented in a safe and structured academic environment helps them develop critical thinking and a nuanced understanding of history and humanity. Shielding them from challenging material while allowing certain forms of violence, but not others, creates an inconsistent and narrow curriculum. We need to trust our trained educators to facilitate mature, sensitive discussions that focus on the novel's profound themes and historical significance. Ultimately, the issue is not if we introduce challenging topics, but how we best provide a balanced, inclusive, and enriching educational experience that prepares students for the world they will inherit.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? Okay, well, thank you. So Dr. Clark will move into the recommendations portion.
All right, this evening we have 7 recommendations. The first recommendation is seeking approval from the board for the 2026-27 school year calendar. The proposed calendar was developed by the calendar committee, which consists of district staff members. Mr. Tony DeRosa will provide an overview of the proposed calendar.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. The 26-27 calendar, fairly straightforward when you compare it to our current calendar. Really the highlights, if I even want to call them highlights, would be, you'll notice the most significant difference in the calendar is on June 11th, we only have one PD day, wrap-up day at the end of the year compared to normally having 2. And the reason for that is, in this year's calendar, so Wisconsin rule is you can either start the day after Labor Day or the first day of September, whichever comes first. So in this calendar year, 25-26, Labor Day fell on September 1st, so we started on the 2nd. So our first week of school had 4 days, and our second week of school had 5 days. Next year, Labor Day falls on September 7th, and September 1st falls on a Tuesday. So next year, it's 4 days in the first week, 4 days in the second week. And so that's why when we get to the end of the calendar year, there's just the 1 day. Now, we could have added a second day, but it would have carried over into the next week, and there's implications with Summer Academy. Otherwise, we would have had to try to manipulate one of our breaks, like spring break or winter break, and with where New Year's falls and things like that, it just really didn't make sense. So that's the most significant change with that reduction of 1 day at the end of the year. But when we look at future years, 2 days would be preferable, and we'd look to move that day back in.
Tony, how many, I know on our side it says that the calendar committee is open to anyone. The invitation goes out. I was curious how many people were on that committee.
Off the top of my head, I want to say there's probably 15, and a lot of them were repeats, which was actually really helpful, because when we started this 3 years ago and everyone was brand new to it, obviously there's a learning curve in dealing with the calendar, but we've had some of the committee members who have chosen to stay on for 3 years, which really helps expedite the process.
Okay. And I was curious about that last PD day, if it was preferred to have 2 or the 1, so thank you for sharing that. It sounds like the feedback is that it is preferred to have the 2, but it's okay for this year to do just the 1. Correct. Is that accurate? Okay.
Yep. other pieces that are pretty standard. 2 weeks for Christmas break, 1 week for spring break. Again, we are in alignment with most of the schools in southeastern Wisconsin when it comes to spring break. And then the committee was helpful in helping us stagger where PD days were and where quarter ended, and just helping to bring some balance to where those days fall. And what we've done this year that we're carrying forward for next year is you'll see that we have PD Day on the 9th, then we have a PD Day on the February 26th, and then we've pushed our last PD Day pretty much as far as we can to May 28th, which is really all about the PLC process and allowing our PLC teams to have, establish those goals and baseline data at the beginning of the year, meeting at the middle of the year, and then being able to measure those goals at the end of the year.
And it's holiday break, not Christmas break in the calendar, right? Yeah?
Winter break.
Winter break. What did I say, holiday? I meant winter.
What did I say? Did I say Christmas?
You did, yeah. But
apologies.
it's just winter break in the calendar, right? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
This year you moved to more full days for PD development instead of the half days. Did you find that to be favorable? Obviously, I think you're continuing it, but.
Yep, so we're in our first year of a calendar with no early release days, and the committee wanted to stick with that, especially since we haven't gone through a full year. So we'll certainly survey our staff when we get through this calendar to make sure that the changes that the committee implemented are valuable and worthwhile.
Well, and I would think doing full days and not half days means we're encouraging parents to take advantage of that full day and plan any attempts to keep their child on vacation or take a trip limited 2 days that we don't actually have school, instead of eating into actual school time.
Yeah, where the PDs fall, there was definitely conversation about, and that was where the committee was helpful, especially at the elementary level, where you place those days in a way that you're still hopefully maximizing your attendance and not providing an incentive for families to start a vacation a bit earlier. And I think we've also provided opportunities to extend vacations where they do naturally exist. So, for example, moving that PD day to the end of the year and attaching that to Memorial Day provides families with a 4-day weekend. So the committee looked for opportunities like that for our families as well.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the CSD 26-27 school year calendar as presented.
I will second.
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar as presented.
Oh, sorry, I'll second. I'm running thin here.
I'm going to make a motion after this, but yeah, it's fine.
Well, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Thank you for the work to all of the different teachers who weighed in on this. It's appreciated.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor of approving the CSD 26-27 school year calendar as presented? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The vote passes 6-0. Thank you.
Can I, Jaredin, if I have a request for the agenda order, does that need a motion? It's just consent that can be a request, right? Okay, so a motion and a second for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to change the order of our agenda to move item E regarding CHS course eliminations up to our next item of business.
I will second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to move the agenda item E regarding CHS course eliminations to the next item to be voted on. Any discussion on that?
I don't think I'm going to last much longer, and that's the only thing that I had comments to make.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the vote passes 6-0. We will now discuss the action regarding the CHS course eliminations.
All right, so the next recommendation is seeking the board to approve the proposed list of CHS course eliminations for the 26-27 school year. This recommendation is being forwarded to the full board for approval by the curriculum committee.
Right. So essentially, for those who weren't at the curriculum meeting, and I don't even know if this is on. Is it on? Okay, because there are no lights on. I know I can see that. I am all right with the course eliminations, except for the elimination of psychology. What I would like to see is I would like to see this motion amended to approve the course eliminations with the exception of psychology to essentially be temporarily shelved or withheld from students for a school year instead of completely removing it. One of my biggest issues with that is the fact that the only other option for psychology is an AP course. And AP courses aren't always the end-all be-all. And an introductory psychology course in general is needed for a vast majority of college majors. If you are a student that is taking 2 or 3 AP courses, but you don't want to take a 4th, and you still want to be able to take psych, you can't do that because it would be eliminated as a non-AP course. One of the differences between the psych course and the other courses is that psych has been having enough students to run sections. Yes, the enrollments have been dropping over the years, but they have still managed to fill. So maybe we only offer 1 section in the spring, or maybe we only offer it in the fall. I think it's a bad look to be only offering it as an AP course. Given conversations I've had with higher ed entities across the state and the country, really is that as four-year institution enrollments are declining, fewer and fewer of them are accepting AP credits because they would rather have those students enrolling in their schools instead of coming in with AP credits. So that is something else to consider as well in the future going forward with AP in general. But I did not win this argument at the curriculum committee meeting, but I want to make sure it's noted to the public that I am in strong disagreement with getting rid of that psychology course. And I think it would be an unfortunate move to try to just tell students, well, you can take sociology or you have to take it in AP. And I don't think that's a road we should be going down.
Thank you, Kate. Allie, would you mind explaining about the new state requirement for the personal finance course and kind of what is leading to some of these decisions?
Yes, so the conversations around course eliminations were twofold. Yes, we do have a new state required class that needs to be implemented next year, which means that we do need to add a course into our course proposals and offerings at the high school. And in order to put something in, we did have a process to take a look at the courses that were already in place at the high school. We also noticed that there have been some students or some courses that have been in the course book that have not had, either had not run or had no registrations over the past couple of years. So when we were looking at what kind of programming we could be making to make sure that it was still well-rounded for our students and make sure that personal finance could fit into the structure, that's where some of the eliminations took place. Personal finance can be taught by either a social studies teacher or a business certified teacher. In having some of the conversations for staffing to make sure that we continue to run as many classes as we can, the decision for offering personal finance next year will be in the social studies department. So we did need to take a look very closely at the courses that were offered in the social studies department to make sure that we had room to run the personal finance course in the social studies department. Psychology is part of the social studies department.
And one thing I learned at the curriculum committee, and Dr. Clark, maybe you want to expand on this, is that the course guidebook is really what is used as a high school curriculum for the year. So I feel it's kind of personally confusing when we're saying we're eliminating psychology, because that doesn't mean we're eliminating it for next year, and that doesn't mean that that course can never come back. But I think with this personal finance, we kind of want to see who's signing up, where the courses are all falling. You know, the high school will definitely monitor that with administration closely and look what changes we make for the following year. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. Can I just ask a quick thought? So I'm sorry, I'm hopping on that because what you said prompted a question that I didn't have before, so I don't want to lose it, basically. For AP Psychology, can all students select AP Psychology? Okay. And then what was the enrollment looking like for AP versus regular or non-AP Psychology?
Stronger sections of AP Psychology. We're running multiple sections of psychology.
Okay.
I don't have the exact number.
Is it more than 28? Because I thought that was the lowest. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then is it possible to basically block out a class for a school year and just not have it be something that students can select? Rather than, because I hear what you're saying, Laura, about the wording of elimination, but my understanding is if you do remove this, you have to go through the whole process again with the committee to get it going again. Is that accurate?
Yep. So what
Oh, good.
Okay, I was going to say what we talked about at the curriculum committee is the curriculum is already there and the coursework is already established and approved. We can just roll it back into the next course offering for this year. It wouldn't need to go through an entire approval process because it's already been.
So then why are we wasting our time eliminating it instead of just not making it available? Or only making a section available so students who maybe don't feel comfortable taking an AP aren't losing out on it, because sociology and psychology are definitely not the same thing, as that was another suggested offering for students to take.
So the decision to choose psychology was from the social studies department when they took a look, and yeah, they chose psychology as opposed to sociology. I wasn't involved in those meetings, but that came from psychology from the social studies department. In terms of the eliminating and holding, really it's more of just the consistency. Your high school course guide should only consist of the courses that you're offering your students, so that it is a tangible, like these are the courses we offer. And so again, at the high school level, it is pretty easy just to add one the next year. So again, it's just a lot easier to do that. So it's, again, not that it would never be there. You know, even if we were going to not offer it next year, so keep it on the books but not offer it, we still would need to have this discussion because the course guidebook should literally be the courses that the high school offers.
So question, was British literature always being offered?
So the reality is, I don't know that we have been following what we should have been doing. There was a lot of decisions over the last few years. I'm not necessarily saying with Casey Bow, it happened with prior principals too, where high school principals were making decisions on curricular offerings that weren't coming before the board. So again, I'm not saying British literature was offered in the past. It was on the guidebook. I think the decisions were made potentially to not make that an offering, which should have only been made by the board. Is that overall? Or is that more confusing?
No, I'm just saying it was allowed to sit there untouched for 5 years, I believe. It didn't have any enrollments.
I think what I'm hearing, though, is that it's just not best practices to do that.
Yeah.
Well, then why don't you run it as we're only offering it in fall of 26. We're not offering it in spring to give time.
Sure, that's something that the board could decide to do, and we certainly could do that.
Because I think sidestepping and just bringing a course back in and not following the proper procedure that the district has about bringing in what then technically would be a new course is not something you want to set a precedent.
I think we're following the proper procedures, right? Because it's already an established course. It's not a brand new course, right? So we're not doing anything against our procedures.
But if you're eliminating it legally, you're eliminating it from your offerings. And then if you're going to bring it back legally, according to board policy, you have to go through the whole proper committee, all of that again. Otherwise, you are then not following board policy.
Correct.
So you can't just slide it back in.
Correct.
I mean, my concern with making changes at this point too is I think they're getting ready to offer the courses to our students to get registered for next year, and there's a lot of planning involved in all of that, and there would be a lot of shuffling for the 26-27 school year if all of a sudden we made changes at this point.
Yes, we do need to finalize the course guidebook. There's already graders right now about selecting classes.
So I think that I've gathered everything. I wasn't at this curriculum. This was the last curriculum committee meeting, right? And Casey's not here, otherwise I would ask some questions of him. But it sounds like it was discussed at the last meeting, and some of what was shared at the table here was shared, maybe? I'm sorry I wasn't there, but I am trying my best to hold on to what everyone's saying here. We don't have a motion on the floor regarding this particular item yet. And from what I'm hearing, I'm prepared to make a motion and see where it goes, if that's okay with other board members.
Sure.
Okay. Does Laura need to call for a motion first, or is it?
No, you can
it's fine. Okay, thank you. I'm not at 100% either today, so I'd like to make a motion to, let's see, approve the proposed list of CHS course eliminations for the 2026-2027 school year, with the exception of psychology, to be with the exception of psychology. Thanks, Dr. Clark. Yeah, let's start there.
I will second.
Help me with this if I get this wrong, this motion. So your motion is to approve the list of CHS course deletions with the exception of psychology.
Correct. And then there's just quick discussion after that. The only thing I would add is it sounds like we're in the process of getting into best practice when it comes to these offerings. And with that in mind, from my perspective, I think it's actually more fair to students to keep this as an offering next year, not 2020 for fall, rather than both. For anyone who's interested in this, who isn't, AP is just too much. I'm just going to keep it simple. So that's my only added point of discussion for this.
The only thing I would add is, Casey and I have talked about this. We're not passionate one way or another. If psychology stayed on there, at the end of the day, we're only going to run courses that we offer. And so, does sociology drop instead of psychology? I mean, we could certainly let the students pick. The one thought with, if you eliminate psychology, you don't have to worry about it not getting enough. And then, as Casey explained at the last meeting, if 15 kids sign up for it, now you're going and talking to those 15 kids and they have to rework the reality is we don't know if kids would be interested in psychology as opposed to some of the others. So from Casey's standpoint, we're fine with whatever, as long as the decision is made tonight.
Yeah. So just for clarification, when those students get these offerings, would it say explicitly for the fall of 2026 or 20? How am I saying this?
Yeah, no, the fall of 2026. No, it doesn't say fall or spring. That is done with, they punch it in the computer and the computer kind of figures out where it best fits.
Okay, thank you. I'm not changing my motion or anything. I just wanted clarification there.
I think if I can summarize some of what was talked about at the curriculum meeting is that because of the new state mandate, there has to be a choice made. We don't have unlimited space and teachers and course opportunities. We have to make a decision, and that the logistical nightmare of having students sign up for it, having to then have them choose something else because not enough signed up, and going through that. I see what you're saying, Kate, about not wanting to take an opportunity away, but I think given that the course has been in place before, bringing it back before the board, if we see a need for it in the future, would not be that difficult to do. So
that was my question. What's the timeline for getting board approval for something that's already been approved?
It would go through the same process that we have been. So it would come before the board originally in September as a new course proposal, or October.
Curriculum committee.
Yeah, curriculum committee. It would go through twice so next year at the October 1, then the November 1, the committee would vote to push it to the full board, and next year at this time we would vote on it as a new course.
And this, to Kate's point, offer a section. A section, on average, 2 sections have been filling. Cap it at a section. You've got 28 in a section. It's maxed out, just like you would other small program courses, like you would, your culinaries and things like that. You're max capping them. We're offering a section. If, it's full, it's full. I don't know if we do wait lists or anything like that. Students have to definitely have backup choices as well, because they're not always guaranteed their forced choices anyway. So if there's concern about, are we going to have enough faculty, as for someone who's done college scheduling, you cap your sections. That's easily how you can figure out, well, we're not going to be siphoning too many people away from business finance because we've capped at one non-AP session of psych.
Well, we've only had 1 section of psych. We haven't had 2 because it's been the enrollment of students.
24-25, they ran 2 sections.
Yeah, this is the first year where we just have 1.
Just this year. Okay. I guess my struggle is with capping it. Who picks who gets it and who doesn't? I guess I struggle with that too then.
It's the same with other courses that have caps.
Yeah. Kind of. At Cedarburg, we usually don't cap.
You do have some courses that you do have to have max sections of, and you can't have everyone taking ServSafe. You've got students that have to wait.
Yep, that's true.
And if it is to where more kids are skewing towards AP, well then AP. But at least you're not disenfranchising the kids who don't want to do AP but still want the content.
So just to give a little idea, generally what you do when you do have to cap, you start with seniors and you go down. So, because the senior would never have an opportunity to take the course again, so you fill it up with seniors, and then if assuming all the seniors get it, now you have juniors that you potentially have to cap it. Then you just look to see what fits into their schedule. That's generally the process.
Allie, can you explain a little bit about what is significant about next year with having to get the certain grade level through that personal finance?
Try to do it, make sure that I'm going to do this in the easiest understanding. So we are in an overlap year, if you will, between our expectations of what kids need to complete to graduate from Cedarburg High School that are not part of the state mandate. So there is a financial literacy class that is expected to graduate from Cedarburg prior to this mandate. There are still students in that track that would be expected to do that, but are not required by the state mandate. So we are in an overlap year where we do need to make sure that we're offering those courses for those students to graduate, while we are still making sure that we're in compliance with the mandate for students to be able to have the state-approved class by the time that they graduate. So next year will be an overlap year, and then after next year, things will look.
So to give you,
hope that things will look different
right
after next year.
So to give you a quick example, for our purposes as, so next year seniors, they can take economics, and that would count as part of the personal finance for the Cedarburg School District, because there is a portion of economics that does deal with personal finance. An economics class does not meet the requirement of the state, so our juniors next year cannot take economics as a financial literacy class. They can only take a class that is called personal finance and only talks about personal finance.
So that's part of the puzzle piece of why we need to make a shift. Okay.
All right, is there any further discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve the list of CHS course deletions with the exception of psychology. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Aye or nay. Any abstentions? Okay, that motion fails 2-4. I will entertain a motion to approve the the CHS course deletions as presented.
Second.
You have to motion first.
Okay, so moved.
I will second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the list of CHS course deletions as presented. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just thank you to board members for allowing just the change in our agenda, first of all, so we could talk about that with all of the board members present here who are able to come tonight. From what I'm hearing at this table, there's not there's no one here that I can hear who is saying psychology is unimportant. So I'm grateful for that. And I think what I hope you all take away is that my goal in this, the motion that failed, wasn't to just take it off the table, but to have a little bit more leeway for administration to deal with the back end of it. And for that to not have to potentially go through committee and committee again and board again when we're in this kind of overlap of a year. So I fully understand, and I have access to the rationale for all of these, all of these courses, and I appreciate hearing Dr. Clark saying, hey, we haven't always gotten it right. We're in that process because we're not perfect in this. And I think it's good that we have administrators who are taking stock of that and being, very open about it as well. So I guess I'll just leave it with saying we see where AP psychology goes with enrollment. And if we have feedback from students who are saying, hey, that's too much for me, but I'm still interested in this, I would really like to see a concerted effort specifically for psychology because it is part of so many majors, right? Like it really is, that we're somehow tracking that so that an informed decision can be made next year about whether we can bring just psychology and not AP psychology, right, back before this body or any other individuals who are part of this body to make a good decision for the benefit of all of our students. I value AP courses and those who want to take them, but I wouldn't have been able to take AP courses, right? So I understand you have to make a choice with some of these things, but I don't think this is the best way to do it tonight. So again, I appreciate the board saying yes to allowing the item to be moved up in our conversation and for the robust conversation at the table. Thank you for your work on that as well.
And I just want to add, there was no one at the committee who, was saying, let's get rid of psychology. There was no discussion at all. It was really, Casey Bowe met with his departments, and that for next year was the best solution. And that's why we are where we are. So is there any further discussion? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the list of CHS course deletions as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay, the motion passes 4-2. Thank you.
All right, we'll go back to B, I'm assuming?
Yeah, let me get my... Yes.
Okay, so the next recommendation is seeking board approval for the architectural and construction management services contract for the Webster Middle School food serving line remodel. Ms. Kim Zabel, Director of Business Services, will share an overview of the project and why we're bringing it to you.
Thank you. So this has been part of the discussion for...
You just got to talk loud. They don't, but none of them will work.
Okay. This has been part of the discussion for about the last year. We started talking about the Fund 50 food service remodel in January or February of earlier this year, and so now we're at the point where we put out our proposals, or our request for proposals for architects and construction managers. I've gone through the selection process. We're a little bit more regimented in this selection process because it's federal funds. Fund 50 is all federal funded funds. And so while each of these pieces wouldn't typically constitute board approval in and of themselves. The project as a whole is estimated to certainly go above $50,000, and so in that line of transparency we wanted to bring it to you today. I would expect that we will bring to you the full budget with, when we get that together with bids and food service equipment in January, February, early next year.
When's the next B&G meeting?
This week.
Okay. Is any part of that coming to B&G? Or not yet? Okay.
And then, depending on, I wouldn't expect we'll have our bids back by early January, so it'll probably be February before.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the architectural and construction management services contract as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So you mentioned just that this isn't necessarily something that in the past has come before the full board, but you're keeping in mind it's right now it's under the 50.
Correct.
And so I just want to, when I was looking through this originally, my first thought was, I don't remember this all at B&G. Is this okay to vote on because I don't remember at B&G? So I appreciate you clarifying that and just making that clear. So I'm comfortable voting at this point from what you've shared. So thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving the architectural and construction management services contract as presented, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
We had a second, right? Who seconded it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul seconded.
Okay.
Great. Did you?
Paul.
Yeah.
All right. So I vote you did.
Okay. No opposed. Any abstentions? That vote passes 5-0.
All right, thank you. The next recommendation is seeking board approval for the summer 2027 CHS Global Scholars Trip to Japan. This recommendation is being forwarded to the full board for approval by the Curriculum Committee.
Since I wasn't at that meeting, I just had a quick question for the fiscal impact of the 6-4, just under $6,500 paid for by student families. Is that similar to costs in the past?
No, it's about $1,000 more.
Okay. Thank you. That was my only question.
And we did talk about, it is kind of a hard pill to swallow in looking at that number because there will be students who probably most likely not necessarily be able to afford to go. Jeff Elmaker has made opportunities to do fundraising and do what he can to at least give everyone an opportunity to take the trip. And we also talked about maybe, the following year finding, if there is such a place, a location that may not be as expensive to travel, but
okay, thank you.
That was discussed.
I'll make a motion to approve the CHS Global Scholars Trip to Japan for summer 2027.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the CHS Global Scholars Trip to Japan in the summer of 2027, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That vote passes 5-0. Thank you.
All right, the next recommendation is seeking board approval for the addition of the AP Business with Personal Finance course at CHS during the 2026-27 school year. This recommendation is being forwarded to the full board for approval by the Curriculum Committee.
Were there any changes to this recommendation from the original Curriculum Committee meeting to what we're seeing at the board table?
No, it was the same.
Okay.
And again, one of the things pointed out at the Curriculum Committee is one of the courses that was just eliminated, this is replacing. So there was a business capstone course, which didn't come with any opportunity for kids to earn any collegiate credit. And so that course was eliminated. This course is taking its place, and because it is an AP course, kids do have potentially the ability to earn collegiate credit.
I'll make a motion to approve the AP Business with Personal Finance course at CHS during the 2026 to 2027 school year.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'm just going to say I'm really excited about the course. I think, there are students who go to Madison and they have to apply, if they choose to the School of Business as a freshman, where they didn't have that much of an opportunity to really take significant business classes such as, accounting and just getting into that level. So this will give, our students the opportunity to get more exposure to it, to see if it's something they do want to pursue in college. So any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the AP Business with Personal Finance course at CHS during the 26-27 school year, vote aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That vote passes 5-0. Thank you.
All right, the next recommendation is seeking for the board to approve the proposed list of 9th through 11th grade English long reads. This recommendation is being forwarded to the full board for approval by the curriculum committee.
And this long reads is different, if I'm hearing?
It is. There was one course removed from the original list. One book from the original 10th grade list.
Oh, okay. Okay, and that's in the Time Butterfly one?
Correct.
All right. So, just based on public comment, which I believe we're allowed to ask questions when someone's up here for public comment if it's an item that's on our agenda. And I just didn't do that, and I should have, because I did have questions, and some of them are kind of still with me, some of them aren't. But I guess the long and short of it is, it sounds like there was a list of books at the curriculum committee. One book was not, that there was some discussion had about this one book. This one book is now not part of the proposed long reads. The recommendation the recommendation right now for our agenda says approve the proposed list of 9th through 11th grade English long reads. And sometimes we have the added as sent by the curriculum committee in that recommendation. I see it in the background. This proposal is being forwarded to the full board for approval by the curriculum committee. The way this is worded, I don't actually know if I can make a motion to include the In the Time of Butterflies, because it's not right now in front of me in the proposed long reads as a proposed book. But it was a proposed book back at the curriculum committee level. Does that make sense the way I'm saying this right now? So I would actually, I did some reading about this, I did hear the individual speak. I appreciate what they shared. I can't say I got everything, but when I looked up just this particular book that's not in the proposed long reads on here, but it was in our curriculum committee, so I'm on the edge right now of talking about this because our agenda says it's from the curriculum committee. This book was talked about at the curriculum committee. So from my perspective, I can still talk about it, but I feel a little bit kind of like, what do I do with this as a board member? Because from what I read, just very basic about this book, which I haven't been able to get a copy of it. I tried Monarch. It doesn't look like it looks like people took it out. So, good on them. But is this something where we can pass this proposed long reads and add to it? What would be a recommendation for a board member who doesn't necessarily agree with the curriculum committee? There's nothing in this, or members of the curriculum committee, I should say, but the way it's presented here doesn't clearly allow for adding something.
Sure, so what we're talking about is approving the list of long reads, so a board member could add any.
Okay, great. So I will take that and I'll just make a motion to approve the proposed long reads for 9 through 11 as presented with the addition of In the Time of Butterflies.
Are we in discussion phase?
You need a second, and anyone can second. It doesn't mean you have to vote yes. Just as a reminder, a second just allows for discussion. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the proposed list of 9th to 11th grade English long reads with the It's in the time of butterflies.
With the addition of in the time of butterflies.
So any discussion on that?
So Connie, at the curriculum meeting, I brought up a concern regarding the sexual content in the book, and other board members weren't familiar with it. And so when we spoke about it at the meeting, which we had some really good discussion, I think, about that topic in general, the book was going to go, we were going to open up the opportunity to talk about it further at another curriculum meeting. So it wasn't removed with no further discussion. It was removed so that other board members could familiarize themselves with the book.
Is that reflected, will that be reflected in the minutes for that meeting? Because here's my problem with some of this stuff. It's fine to say it, but those meetings are not recorded. They're not available for anyone coming into that committee later on. And our minutes don't reflect discussion. So I really appreciate hearing that, Kate, because I wasn't aware of that, that, hey, not everybody at this table is familiar with this book. Let's bring it back later. Okay, great. That's helpful to know. But for the purposes of this particular item, from my perspective, if there are teachers that, because this was a staff recommendation list, is that accurate?
Correct.
So if there's teachers that are familiar with this, are familiar with their students, are familiar with what could lead to these critical thinking conversations, I don't see why we're just saying, hey, don't include it, but maybe we'll come back to it later. From my perspective, it makes sense to include it and kind of let students have those conversations. This is CHS. This is not our elementary, not our middle school. I'm sorry. I've made a motion. I appreciate the second. I appreciate the discussion, but I feel like I'm getting wordy unnecessarily. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, I would just appreciate more time to review the book. I haven't had a chance to get my hands on it either, and I'd really like to make an informed decision rather than making a decision right now.
And I think that's what a lot of the discussion led to. There were a lot of books on that list, a lot of new books that have never been taught by CHS. There was a concern raised, and there was good discussion held, but it was just, as board members, as a curriculum committee board member, I wasn't that familiar with the book, and since there were concerns raised, I wasn't comfortable in just approving something I wasn't that familiar with. And I think part of the issue was the English department is anxiously waiting to get the books, the list
for ordering purposes.
Right now we don't have it for home reads.
Okay.
And so they're ready to start doing long reads, and they want to make sure that they're approved. So the conversation also, let's go ahead and move forward with what we're comfortable with, that all allow them to start some of those long reads.
And this was a book that had never been used before either. So there was a mixture. There's a mixture on that list of books that have been used and books that hadn't, and this was one that had never been used.
And so what was brought up regarding Lord of the Flies, which I did read through the proposed list. Is the attachment for this available for everybody, right? For public, yeah. So the public can go back into the agenda, look at the attachment, and see the proposed long reads that the board sees at this meeting. They can also go back into the curriculum committee meeting prior and see that other title listed in there, In the Time of Butterflies. My concern right now is we can take all the time we want, but it still has to go back to committee, and there's nothing on minutes that says that that's what's going to happen. So I just find it a little bit unnecessary to do this. I would like to trust our educators' perspective on this. I'd like to take on board public comment for, Lord of the Flies is a very intense book from my perspective. Maybe other people have a different opinion, but that's what high school's for. That's what, in my opinion, we should have a little bit more leeway for the educators who made these recommendations. So, yeah, thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, I will take a vote on approving the proposed list of 9th to 11th grade English lawn reads with the addition of "in the time of butterflies." All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Abstentions? Okay, that motion fails 1-4. Do I have a motion to approve the proposed list of 9th to 11th grade English lawn reads?
So just for clarification from my part here, to vote on this with an aye vote, or excuse me, let me backtrack. Voting aye on this, if someone were to vote aye on it, it means yes to all of these that are proposed before us today, but there's nothing in, it doesn't allow for that book for any one of us to read it and say, hey, this is actually fine, we're fine with it. It really doesn't allow that at all. So what would happen next? Like, would it come next year as a proposed long read and the educators list it again, and then hopefully everybody at the table will have read this book to then say, okay, actually it's fine? And then, like, are we waiting just another year for this?
Possibly. I mean, it depends on what the list is that is submitted next year.
Right. So it's possible that because it's not approved now, or it's not, the last motion failed, that staff might not even attempt it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, I will take a vote on approving the proposed list of 9th to 11th grade English lawn reads. All those in favor, vote aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, the vote passes 4-0-1. Thank you.
All right, the last recommendation is for the acceptance of donations to the district. This month there is one donation, $2,000 from Casey Stepnick, to be used to support the Cedarburg High School golf simulator. If approved, the donations for November are $2,000, and the total board-approved donations to date for the school year, the 25-26 school year, will be $387,105.59.
I'll make a motion to approve the donation as presented.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Thank you to Casey for your generous donation.
I'm just going to add back to our presenters early on. I'm just in awe. I mean, it's great when we get, a big donor here, and we always appreciate them, but there are so many people who donate their time, their talents, and all of that. So I always want to say, especially in the month of November and Thanksgiving, how thankful I am to the Cedarburg community. So, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the donations, to approve the donations to support the instructional and programmatic needs of Cedarburg School District. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That vote passes 5-0. And now we move back to item, I was so struggling on that, with item B, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
From the consent agenda.
From the consent agenda. So I don't know if, Kim, if you mind stepping to the mic.
We need a motion to approve first, and then we can have discussion on it.
Okay, so do we have to?
What's going on with this?
Sorry, we have to go all the way back to the beginning of the
Oh, okay. I thought it was glitching or something.
Yep.
So we need a motion. What?
Yeah, we need a motion
to approve.
To approve it, and then
Okay.
we can have the discussion.
I will make a motion to approve the budget and finance report that was in the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Thank you for moving this. When we have consent agenda, sometimes it makes sense for me to abstain or vote no or whatever it may be for various reasons, and I really did not want to abstain or vote no to our personnel or the approval of the minutes. So this was more of allowing me to have a separate vote on this. For the BNF report, I did have, the report shows what's already happened, right? So just on a personal level, there's some resources, curriculum that our district uses that I think we can do better on, and it's part of this month's
BNF report. So I'll be voting accordingly.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the budget and finance report from the consent agenda, vote aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the vote passes 4-1. Thank you. And with that, we have just one curriculum committee meeting report, and Elizabeth Charlin had a work commitment, and so she asked me to read the report, and that is what I'm going to do. So the curriculum committee met on November 12th. The first 4 topics we discussed were voted on at tonight's board meeting. It's the CHS Global Scholars Trip proposal for summer 2027 to Japan, CHS course additions, CHS course deletions, the CHS English 9th to 11th grade lawn reads to incorporate in the new HMH into Literature English Language Arts curriculum as part of a bank of books. The list of books is included in board docs. There is an estimated fiscal impact of $26,000 to purchase the books. And I'm just going to add to that, that would be if we purchased every new book on the list, which we will not. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ellie. I don't think we will be doing this year, but if over time okay, so that's where the $26,000 comes from. And then the last item is the fall pre-ACT data overview. The second full year of fall pre-ACT testing for grades 9 and 10. See board docs for data. And the next curriculum meeting is December 3rd. So that was her committee report for the curriculum committee. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor of all those in favor of adjournment, vote aye. 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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice Thanksgiving.